Okay, so I don't know where it cut out. Does anybody know where it cut out?
So look, Jack, I don't even want to fuck up your stream, man. So listen, I'm gonna just recap your recap and then let you just
Please.
pick up from right where you left off. All right, so boom. Once upon a time, there was six of us. We met in the tavern. It was a lot of laughs. Um,
A lot of laughs.
we ran to the mayor. The mayor was like, "Go get my quote unquote campaign contributions from all over the city." So a
We hate that man.
nice little tour the city mission. You know, go talk to some folks. Um, we
Blow
failed
some shit up.
spectacularly and repeatedly,
Failed.
and that's pretty much the essence without the flair and
I
reality
suppose.
of what Jack said. But that's basically what
Regality.
it is.
You
And if you,
flatterer.
in case I hadn't spoken, I don't remember if I was before I was with the chicken tenders. Keeper is an old ass elf lady in the woods. She lived a lot of lives, and she loves her friends. Yay!
Yay, yay. Love
Oh,
keeps.
I didn't give a Isotra background. Should I do that?
I mean, you kind of did, but I mean, we can.
Okay. Sotra is a war veteran with PTSD and dementia. And also lost all of his memories. He's an ASMR, and he's like, tall, gray beard. They live pretty long, compared to humans. But also, his dad's a dragon. But that's also another story. He's like has got like a bum dad. Mom's a celestial being, ASMR, and his best friend, who he believes is his best friend at least, is Keeper. But you know, he has this other issue where he doesn't remember things, but he remembers things that may or may not have happened. So he's also on a journey to collect his memories yet again, which should be very interesting. And also, he loves anything pastry related.
Isotra gets a hold of the Doomstone, which one of our other characters had stolen off of a patron of Charlena's at some other point earlier in the game. Now, this stone read in Goblin, Giant, and Kobold the words warning, danger, doom. Isotra eats it. And the adventurers just continue on about their way as if nothing had fucking happened, as if there's not at all ever consequences for their actions. They get into the mayor's house, they sneak in, they confront him, they bust open the door, and then begin to project out for him a hologram of sorts of all of their adventures so far and how everyone pretty much hates him. The mayor did not react kindly to this.
Krisvaris and I wanted to kill him. Then a voice in the sky told us that might not be the best fight.
Right.
And then Keeper was like, well, how about we do something for you, you give us the deed.
So it's about this point that we get into the Day of the Axe. So the three other players that we started this campaign with, there were just some creative differences, and so we just parted ways. But not before brutally destroying their characters. And I do mean brutally. I mean, that shit got bad fast. Safe to say, they whooped a lot of ass. And ultimately killed the three characters, made chicken tendies out of one of them, who was, yes, an Aarakocra. And another, they stole her... It was a drake. They were able to somehow, through a series of rolls, bond this creature to the three of them. And it took a particular liking to Isotra. But anytime that we reference the Day of the Axe, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the day that it officially became the party formerly known as the Order of Chaos, with Keeper, Krisvaris, and Isotra. So with the three of these, now they decided to go back to the tavern where they had all met and see if they could sniff out another job. The party formerly known as the Order of Chaos stumbled upon a drunken dwarf who happens to be an old friend of both Isotra and Keeper. So Herlander had been sent into the swamps, or into the woods, the Luiren wood, several times to try and track down a pack of wereboars and ultimately dispatch them. Each time, the werebores had absolutely decimated the party that he went in with. At first, he went in with just 1 or 2 guys. He's the only one that made it out. Next, went in with 4 or 5 guys. He's the only one that made it out. Next, he went in with a handful more guys. He's the only one that made it out. So he's fucked up. He's seen some shit. He has witnessed men being ripped in half by werebores. He's witnessed a lot of atrocities, a lot of carnage. And so he is wasted away again in Charlena and trying to what?
That's my baby.
I'm telling you, leave Charlena alone. She don't want you. She don't want you. Yeah, Herlander, he's boohooing over all the bad shit that's done happened. They get him high and they're like, hey man, let's get the fuck out of here. And he's like, nah, I gotta go beat these werebores. And they're like, okay, bet, let's help you beat these werebores. So they go into the woods.
Keeper got possessed.
And Keeper got possessed. The forest is what actually possessed her. More specifically, the mycelia that was encompassing the entire forest. Keeper was left forever changed. Not just by the interaction with the mycelia itself and being absolutely taken over, no control over her own body. And that is the whole reason she became a cleric, was because of her desperate need for control. But was also left with a little friend.
Beneath me.
Beneath you?
Beneath me.
Well, now you have a nifty little friend that you carry along with you everywhere you go. And this little nifty little friend will actually play in later, but essentially a piece of mycelia had detached from the forest and is now riding on the back of Keeper. Think of Venom, but harmless, childlike, and, well, for right now, harmless and childlike. They continue on through the forest. They find an area to actually take some rest. And it's at this point that Isotra begins to feel the crystals from the Doomstone growing inside of his body. Yeah, like I said, actions have fucking consequences. He cuts himself open.
Yeah.
After delivering a moving little speech just prior in the forest. Yep, then Keeper, I'm pretty sure, just laid hands or something. Just like, here you go, stop being so dramatic. Long rested, they're all cleaned up, and they move on. They encounter a werebore who's carrying the bottom half of a torn off teddy bear. They decide to kill him, because why ask fucking questions?
No questions. If you haven't, for those who are listening, if you haven't figured it out by now, we're very much shoot fireball magic missile first, ask questions third.
But was it our fault, or did Herlander run into a blind rage?
Herlander ran into a blind rage.
Which is ironic because this entire time he has been shitting bricks, panicking, and freaking the fuck out because, again, he's got some PTSD from his encounters in the forest already. He had shit. Listen, he was terrified. He was terrified.
We all have PTSD.
So anyway, they attack and ultimately kill the werebore without asking any questions. There was another one there. He runs off into the safety of the den. When they make it to the other side of the forest, into the werebore's den, they're confronted with 3 or 4 others. I can't remember which. To which, again, they do not ask many questions and begin whooping ass. To be fair, the werebores weren't really in a talking mood because they just killed one of their own. So let's go. That fight ensues, and then out of one of the tents comes stepping out a massive hulk of a creature, a werebore, but a little bit more. Manipulated and twisted. That
motherfucker was difficult.
He was supposed to be. This was a Haze boar. Now, the Haze druid created by Christopher Waltz and Christian Eichhorn. And the whole idea to Haze druid is that it's just a stoner druid. Through the haze, they can do all kinds of magical and wonderful things. And so we wanted to incorporate that into our game. Ultimately, that haze has somehow invaded this plane and has become corrupted and is spreading through the swamp and through the land of Luiren for the purpose of, basically causing rot. And through this rot and decay, rebirth is the idea, that the land may be purified, may be cleansed of everything. This haze energy. this boar had as well. He reeks of that putrid, foul smell. You can see his flesh ripping off of him as he's continuing to rot, just standing before them, huffing, puffing, grunting, a big mass of death that proceeded to whoop their asses within an inch of their lives. And in a final heroic moment, Herlander, grabbing both of his hatchets in hand, jumped and drug his way down this wereboar, and then pulled out his dagger and gutted him further. The wereboar fell on top of him, burrowing one of his tusks deep into Herlander's gut. Herlander began to turn. So y'all killed Herlander. After which the wereboar, which was still twitching, they decided to do their best to kill it. Once they did, the wereboar began to crumple into a glob of black ooze and fur and hooves and tusk and Haze, and then began to speak from the shadows of the forest as it retreated, that he was coming for them directly. I'm pretty sure the whole party said fuck you and then left the forest, and then confronted the mayor again, and then managed to get the fucking deed to Keeper's land, and then they all decided to go grab one more drink at Charlena's. So they weren't just having a great time partying at the bar, they were celebrating Mardi Gras as well. They were having parades outside of the tavern. You could hear the hooting and the hollering and the jazz music playing. It was a beautiful thing. But then that hooting and hollering became a little bit more than that. It became screams. And then everybody in the tavern was panicking as the front doors were busted open by goblins. The rest of the tavern cleared out pretty quickly, but our party decided to seize the opportunity to be the heroes that they believed themselves to be and take down these dastardly goblins without asking questions. Are we noticing a common factor here? A round of hobgoblins and trolls came clamoring through. On the other end of these trolls was a green hulk of a beast roaring from the other side of the hall. Our players then noticed a small little old lady. They followed her right into a wardrobe that teleported them into a swamp. They met a giant friendly snake, a few terrifying alligators, and ultimately a bunch of skelly boys. And all because they could not listen. Camille was a sweet old druid woman who just wanted to help them, but instead they could not trust her. She was crazy.
If you ever watch horror movies, you know not to trust sweet old ladies.
So they decided to try their best to attack her, which she easily deflected because I did not want them to die. She left them to toil first, then trouble. And so they had to toil over a stirring pot, a cauldron with a brew of some sort, and they decided to fuck with it, and then accidentally knocked it over, and it spilled all over the ground and awakened a fuck ton of skelly boys. Isotra almost died. Reaches out to the voice in the sky. Hey, don't let this happen. Twice, yes. Hey, I don't want to go out like this. And the voice in the sky said, are you going to be a good boy? And Isotra said, nah. And he said, nah, come on. And he said, okay, cool. And so then that was it. The oath was to do the right thing. That's all that was asked of him. To which all he had to say was, as chaotically as possible. They make it out of the swamp. And ultimately, Keeper got a book on the history of spore druidry. Spore druidry. So that she could learn the secrets of the spore druids, so that she might have a better understanding of the haze magic that's going on around them. Everybody gets to change things up. Keeper started out as a cleric, and now she gets to take a couple levels in spore druid. Isotra started out as a sorcerer and now taking a couple levels in paladin. Krisvaris is still holding her ground as an eldritch knight. After everything's all said and done, Camille puts everybody back through another cabinet, which sends them to a pantry inside of Belweir. When they make it to the other side, they see an entire city filled with goblins. See, goblins up until this very moment in the region were treated as slaves, but now they've completely overrun the city after having taken it over during Mardi Gras. Any other colorful creatures that might be walking around these streets, nowhere to be found. Just so the party, formerly known as the Order of Chaos, decides to investigate. During their investigation, they found 2 posters plastered up on the wall. One, a wanted poster for Calcitro Burrows, the mayor of the city. And the other was the stamping of a large green fist wielding a big hammer. Really doesn't look like the goblins have done anything violent. They make their way finally to asking about the Muffin Man, which a sly little goblin decides to take as an opportunity to lead them directly into a trap, directly to Oho. Oho is the massive green thing on the other side of that door from earlier. Interrogation essentially takes place afterwards, during which Keeper and Krisvaris and Isotra all admit to having killed the goblins before, or having accidentally admitted to doing so. Oho decides that the past is the past, and right now the only thing that matters is the liberation of the goblins, and that they arrange a fight between Calcitro Burrows and Oho. See, Oho just wishes to prove his might and grow his legend. Charlena, the tavern keeper there that Isotra is so desperately in love with and was seemingly smitten by Calcitro Burrows, she is now enamored with this man, seeing his size, his ferocity, his massive horns. Yeah, it's an orc with horns. There's lore there. Ask questions. It's fine. Though Oho tells the party that they've got to arrange this fight and that they have no clue where the halflings went, but the only place that they didn't check was the underground, because it doesn't make sense that they would go there. And so, of course, that's the first place that our party looks. They head right for the underground. And that's about where the story comes to where we are. Keeper has asked around a little bit. Isotra scarred and maimed a poor child with the help of Krisvaris. He's already pissing off his patron off the rip. But now Keeper, Krisvaris, and Isotra have to arrange this fight. And even they don't know what comes next. I barely know what comes next. But I've got a bulk of the story written out so far. I've even included the Muffin Man, which is now an integral part. We've got several missions still just for the act, just for the season. We've got a lot of things lined up and planned, including what will undoubtedly be one hell of an epic battle for the end of it. I think that's about brought us full circle. So we're gonna wrap this up. Everybody, if you got one packed, if you got one loaded, please feel free to smoke with me. I always love it when people do. I'm not gonna put the same flair on it that Art Hard does, but I mean, come on, let's smoke. So we'll wrap it up here. I don't know if we can do the last part, but we're gonna do it anyway, I'm sure. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Just keep watching. I mean, honestly, we're gonna be here. We're gonna be doing this. Till next time. Be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. And I guess make good choices.
Or don't.
Waka waka.
All right, y'all.
Looking forward to that the whole time.
Until next time, play your role.
Y'all be easy.